We do not have darts in the sleeve, so it doesn't matter if you use the straight sleeve or the one with the two darts. And I'm just filling in everything so that you can see it. Because in some instances you might have a single dart there. And that's what the book is going to show you. Notice that the back, the elbow has the darts. So this sleeve has the elbow darts. Your sleeve doesn't, and there's a sleeve that you could make for this, but your sleeve doesn't hang straight from your body. If you made the jacket in construction 2, you noticed that the sleeve sort of went forward in that two-piece sleeve. Your arm doesn't hang straight from your body. It tilts forward. This is a natural position. You don't walk around like this. There is a condition, I'm telling you these things, but there is a condition where your arms do hang that way, but I don't see anybody in here that hasn't. And most people don't. So this dart, in putting this in the sample, would bend the elbow forward, which then mimics the shape of the body better. The more shaping that you can do to a garment, the more higher end, the more the fit is better. So I just copied this off, and I think that this goes straight across. So the markings, I have to see what I copied. Just wanted to see where that line went. So when you close this up, it's going to pull this line straight across. So this is your elbow line. This is your bicep line. Your bicep is the widest point on your arm. So that's the circumference here. If you were actually making a sleeve for somebody, have them make a muscle for you, because you need to have enough space in here in order to function in the sleeve. Otherwise it's gonna rip. So if you have a shirt on and this is too tight, have you ever bought a shirt and this is just too tight? You can see people that lift weights and they buy shirts and then their arm doesn't fit here. That's what would happen if the bicep wasn't large enough. So what we're going to do to the sleeve, and you'll be happy to know that it's on the next page.
So we have to measure like the bicep?
You don't have to do anything. I'm just saying if you were to draft one.
Okay.
If you were to draft a sleeve, you would need to have that measurement. I thought it was on the next page. I guess I'm completely wrong.
So if you're making it from scratch, like I have to measure like mostly like the bicep and then the elbow as well, or just the bicep?
If you are measuring for somebody, you need to know what the bicep is, the length of the sleeve. You need to know, just for making sure that it fits, what the wrist measurement is or the hand measurement.
Yeah.
And what the elbow is, just so that you know that you've bypassed it.
So like from like
Because it's not skin tight.
No, and yeah, and then from like the shoulder.
The calf. So the portion that goes from the bicep up, so it's from here to here is the cap of the sleeve, and then this is the body of the sleeve. Just giving you all this information. You don't have to use, you have two different sleeve patterns that I gave you on the first day. One of them happens to be like this, and one of them isn't. I thought it was on the next page, and I don't see it, but oh well. So I'm gonna find it, and then I'll tell you what page it's on. But what did we do to the shoulder seam on this? We extended it out how much?
By half an inch.
Half inch. So we have to drop this a half inch. I'm asking you just to make you think that there's a connection between it. Because your sleeve sits here, we've extended this line out a half inch, so we have to take off from this one. Otherwise, it just makes your sleeve longer. So we have to remove what we added to this one. We have to subtract it from this one. So we're going to drop that a half inch. And then on the side seams, what we did is we extended out our side seams 3/4 of an inch. So we're going to do the same thing here. Extend that out 3/4.
I'm confused. I thought like the back, you increased it to halves. So like would it still be like the same? Like how's it work?
We took the shoulder, the length of my body from here to here has not changed. I have extended out the shoulder seam a 1/2 inch here, so I have to then subtract this out 3/4 of an inch. I have to extend that out 3/4 of an inch, because when you sew these two together, you have 3/4 of an inch on the front and the back now that needs to be accommodated with the sleeve. The sleeve was made for the original torso block. And because I extended that out, I have to subtract it so that my sleeve doesn't go over my arm. And because I extended that out 3/4, I have to widen that 3/4. So if I had added an inch here, I would have extended it out an inch on both sides. If I put 8 inches here, I would extend that out 8 inches. Otherwise, it no longer fits. So I'm going to forget that that's there. And what I'm going to do is I am going to extend this line out from the wrist. If you use the sloper that doesn't have the darts, you don't have to do this because it's already, but I'm just showing you that you don't always have to have what the book is showing you. So if I close this up, it would have lifted that up by that amount. So I want that to be 90 degrees. And what I'm going to do, because the book will tell you to measure the bicep, which I have at 7 1/8 inches, and to subtract, it's an inch or 2 inches, and it's not in my brain option. So there's hemline options from what you see me doing. So it's on page 444. I'm dropping that out a 1/2 inch. That is going to be 3/4 of an inch, and I'm going to shape the cap, and then I will show you that in a second. And I am going to take 1/2 of the bicep less 1 inch, so it's 1 inch. So measure this. 1/2 of the bicep is this total distance. So there's center. You can measure this entire thing if you want to. So I have 14 1/4. So 1/2 of 14 1/4. 1/2 of 14 is going to be 7. 1/2 of a 4th is going to be an 1/8, and that's exactly where my line is. So I'm going to make this line down here 6 1/8, because that's 1 inch less than that. And I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. And now I will connect these two. So my original sleeve now has gotten much wider. Those darts are nothing because we've bypassed them.
So we don't.
Can I borrow your French curve? But ask your question, yes?
So we don't care, like when we're not even gonna pay attention to
No.
that stuff.
No, and if you have they have the dart in the pictures in the book, but you just pretend it's not there. Once again, you're pretending it's non-existent because there's no darts in a shirt sleeve. So this is going to be our new line. So we have to try to mimic this as best we can. So if you put your pencil there and you rotate, oops, wrong direction. You rotate, just do 1/2 of it. So the center. My knowledge of this is because I know how to draft a sleeve from scratch, from measurements. But what you would do when you drafted it, you would go from this edge to this edge, putting the French curve like that. And then you would flip the French curve and you would go like that. And you would just go halfway down.
Oh.
So there's where the shape is. But I want to get this bottom shape so I know where to go to, because it's going to bypass a lot of stuff. But I'm not going from here, although I could, and just do that, like halfway through, and then flip that over and go halfway down. So this is going to be my new line. And the same thing on the opposite side. And again, people will say, how do you know where to put the French curve? It's only because I've drafted many a sleeve in my life. But this is basically the positioning of the French curve. And you can go back to chapter 3 under drafting a sleeve, and I think they will show you the positioning. So this is my new line that I'm going to be using that I'll add seam allowance to. And then this is the sleeve. There is a type of sleeve that goes straight down from your body, and that literally is a rectangle. I'm not suggesting that you do it, but it is possible to have another block that basically is like that. And you can see how much wider even than the shirt sleeve it is.
I have a question.
But it hangs from your body straight down as a tube, and it's not much shape.
So okay. If we ever created like a sleeve that has like you know, like kind of like it's purple, like I don't know.
The shirt sleeve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you very quickly. We're going to be attaching a cuff to this. So to continue this, because you will see it in this hem shape section. But our cuff is going to be 2 inches. Our sleeve ends at our wrist. This ends at our wrist. Because we're adding yet another piece to it, what do you think we have to do to the sleeve? Yes.
Make it shorter?
Make it shorter, exactly. The cuff is going to be 2 inches. So I'm going to draw a line 2 inches up because the cuff is going to occupy that space on our body. If you don't do that, then your cuff again is going to be down here because it's going to be the sleeve length to your wrist plus then your cuff. This is how you can get a really long sleeve if you want to. So we have done that. What I'm going to also do is I'm going to find the center point of these.
Sorry.
Were you filming at the same time? So this is what we're going to see on YouTube.
Yeah.
This is the quality of your work.
Yes.
I'm sorry it's so boring.
No, it's not.
I'm going to find the center point between here.
I scared myself.
So you can measure and divide in half if you want to, but because I'm using this paper, this is what I do. I'm bringing the underseam to the center, which is our grain line. Make sure that you always have your grain line on your pattern, which happens to be in this case the center. Even if it was the original, it's still the grain line. So here is the center. From this point, this now makes a placket. This is the location for the placket. This is the back. You don't have to write B or F, but I'm just telling you. Just like this is the front and the back. But this, what I'm doing now is I'm locating where that placket goes. This is a standard placket. There's no placket. This is a French cuff. Do we have a standard placket on the French cuff? We do. So this is a standard placket. So if you have a placket that has a buttonhole here, that's a gauntlet. So if you're dealing with a factory and you say, I need a shirt with a gauntlet placket, they know exactly what you're talking about. They know it doesn't look like this. If you say that it just has a placket on it, there's 3 different types of plackets. So which one? This is standard. The one with the button is gauntlet, and then you have the continuous, which is one continuous piece of fabric. Did you do that in construction, or you didn't even have that there?
I think we did.
So in the book, their placket is 2.5 inches long. And I pay attention to what people wear, like when I'm on the train or in public or something, but I've seen people's plackets go up to their elbow. So it's a design detail. Your placket doesn't have to be 2.5 inches. It's just the standard. It can be much greater than that. If you wanted it to go up to the elbow, you can. So now because that's the case, there's our elbow line, because this is no more of those darts. So this is bicep. This should always be on a pattern. When you hand in your pattern, I'm going to look for the grain line. I'm going to look for the bicep. I will also look for the elbow. They're points of reference. If you wanted a shortened sleeve, you know where the elbow hits and you know where to cut it. Otherwise, you're making a sample. So our placket is going to be 2.5 inches because that's what the book says. If you want it 3 inches, then make it 3 inches. I'm not going to judge whether or not it's 3 or 2.5. Just make sure that it's there. So if you wanted your placket way up here, then make it 5 inches. Needless to say, that's where the placket goes. At the bottom wrist, you're going to measure down 3/4 of an inch. I never draw it in as I'm doing, but so that's going to be the bottom of it. And now with the French curve again, you're going to curve it from here to there. Flip the ruler, bring it back like midway. You can use a different ruler if you want to. So sort of midway, a little past midway, it doesn't matter. What this actually does, and I would actually use a different ruler for this. If you ever go to, I don't know, I see it at, you don't see it. Let's pin this. So this is tilting it forward. When you make the sample, it's going to be tilted like that. And not straight down like that. But if you go and look at higher end clothes, you're going to see that it mimics the shape of the body better. And because it does, you can command a higher price because you have put things into your patterns that then mimic the human body. In fast fashion, this is what you get. So I'm sort of surprised where this came from. If it was $110, just a blank one from the factory. So if it's $110, that's the manufacturer cost, double it, and that's the wholesale cost, and then double that again, and that's the retail price. Tilt your arm so that, because this sits here, this is the vent. This is where the vent would be on a jacket. This is where the vent is on a shirt,
So when
which is the placket.
So when we cut, we're cutting like the
Yeah.
line.
It's going to be this line, and then taper it back up. And it shows you that in the textbook, and it's waved, and the gray part in the book is what you're going to cut away. That's it. It's done. Don't do that. Unless it's a design detail. So remember to drop it a 1/2 inch, extend it out 3/4 of an inch. Take an inch away from this measurement, which I got. If you're all using the same sleeve, do you see what I mean? Because we all have the same sleeve, I can just tell you the numbers. If you used a different sleeve, then I don't know what the numbers are. But you're gonna subtract an inch from this, which makes it 6 1/8. So I measured out 6 1/8 inches and connected the lines. This is the underseam of the sleeve. Then I subtracted 2 inches here because our cuff in a second, or before we leave today, is going to be 2 inches wide. And I found the center point of the back portion to make the placket, and then I dropped it 3/4 of an inch. I did a bunch of talking in between, and fall asleep.